Welcome, art lovers, to Art Gallery Explorer, the vlog that explores the London art scene. Today, I want to take you to two shows of contemporary artists, George Rouy, an up-and-coming English artist, and André Butzer, a German who's a bit more experienced. These artists don't have much in common aesthetically, apart from the fact that they're both contemporary painters, but I thought I'd put them together because the shows are quite small. They're round the corner from each other as well, a 5 to 10 minute walk away, so you can see both if you're interested. Anyway, let's go on to the streets of London and first of all explore the art of George Rouy. It gives me great pleasure today to be coming to explore an exhibition recommended by an art lover on the Francis Bacon vlog. Thank you very much for recommending this show. It's by English artist George Rouy. He was born in Kent in 1994 and is now 30. Now, I have to confess, I did not know much about George Rouy before researching for this vlog. I'm learning he's an artist who paints visceral works. In one interview, he describes as wanting to capture the essence of the body of what it is to be human. He's transfixed by the human figure. He's not exactly unknown. He's represented by that giant of the art scene, Hauser and Wirth, and I'm here approaching their galleries on Savile Row to see this exhibition by him. He doesn't paint people in the flesh, so to speak. He paints a bit like Francis Bacon from images, and he's one of the artists who has a real buzz on the art scene. This show in London is on until the 21st of December, and it's called The Bleed, and then there's going to be The Bleed 2, which is going to be shown at Hauser and Wirth in Los Angeles, so maybe you'll be able to get along to that show. I'm just approaching the gallery now. I can see some of the works through the wall. Look, they look huge, some of them, and so I can't wait to go inside. There's only going to be a few works, so this is going to be a really short vlog, and then I'll share my thoughts on some of the art afterwards. Do come and join me as we head inside. Well, if we start with George Rouy, I really was glad I went to this exhibition. I'd like to thank the art lover who recommended it on the Francis Bacon blog, and I can see two big links clearly with Francis Bacon. One of them is the obvious abstracting of faces to strip away, in a way, individual identity, and that was clearly in some ways influenced by Bacon. And the other was the way that Rouy actually works. He works from images, not from painting from life. And in his case, he actually uses his computer and plays with Photoshop to bend and kind of distort bodies. And you actually saw that in the works. The kind of layering of these works made them very modern paintings in a way. It was almost like you were looking at a computer, a Photoshop image. So I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the theme of the tension between individualism and shared experience. Clearly, we live in an incredibly individualistic world, and yet these bodies merged together and kind of blended together, and it was hard to see where one ended and another one began. And that was obviously, I think, a reflection on the fact that we do live in so many of the big issues in the world together collectively, even though it doesn't often seem that. And he obviously emphasized that by abstracting faces, as I've said, and stripping away individual identities, but you could still make out hands, I'll come on to them in a minute, legs, and certain bits of bodies, which meant that individual humans were identifiable. So I did enjoy the overall theme. He's clearly a really ambitious artist, and what I felt with the show was that, you know, he's 30 and there's a lot still more to come. The word visceral was used when I was researching Rouy. And for me, some of the works were curiously unvisceral, even though they were about these bodies blending together. This one, for example, Formless Being, was static for me, and it didn't really do it for me. Do you agree? Put in the comments if you think I was speaking gibberish. And it was only really when I went through into the second, smaller gallery space to see another one of those huge colour paintings that I saw this one, From the Cradle, which got me. I mean, I thought this was like art in motion. It felt as if the bodies were literally moving in front of you, and I really enjoyed that. It was visceral, it was chaotic, it did everything that I think the artist was intending. So not all the big colour paintings worked, but some of them did, and when they did, they were incredibly powerful. I found this one very affecting as well, by the way. It was a thrill in the bleed to see some examples of phantom paintings. These are created using silver pigment and charcoal, and they play with shadows, and in a way they're even more compelling because there's less to see, more to work out. And obviously human experience is often shadowy in lots of ways, and that intersection between individual and the collective and shared experiences. So I really did enjoy those. Overall, I was really glad I went. I didn't think every single painting worked. It's clear that Rouy is an artist in development, but when they work, wow, they are powerful works. And so I'm going to be watching his career with interest. Yeah, and this show's on until the 21st of December. It's free, and it's at the wonderful Hauser and Wirth space. I'd like to thank them for giving me permission to post this on YouTube. And I'll definitely be watching George Rouy. And if you're Los Angeles based, in February, The Bleed 2, which I'm led to believe is going to include some new works from this series, will be being launched, so watch this space for that. We'll now have a look at André Butzer. I'm here for a quick one today, art lovers, from Mayfair in London to explore some works by German artist André Butzer. He's in his 50s now. The gallery promises he's reaching his mature period. Let's go and explore. Well, art lovers, I really was conflicted about the works of André Butzer, which is showing at the Max Hetzler Gallery in Mayfair, only a few streets away actually from the George Rouy show. So you can definitely see both. The Butzer one's on until the 14th of December. Butzer's known for pioneering a style called science fiction expressionism, where he combines references to US pop culture with expressionist art. And the majority of the paintings in this show are his synthetic paintings, which show bodies made up of a sort of mangled mess of technology with these cartoonish heads with very cartoonish eyes on top. And he's clearly exploring how our individuality is being constantly attacked by technology. But I got that there was quite a hopeful message in these works, in the sense that despite the onslaught of technology, AI and other forms that we are faced with, we still remain human. And I found them quite uplifting. Aesthetically, I have kept thinking about them, but at the time I remembered, I still can't decide whether I saw these around Halloween, whether this was a Halloween horror show or some really compelling art. And I kept fluctuating between the two. It was the cartoonish heads, which were the opposite of a Rembrandt, if we're being honest. They were kind of both amusing and rather cheeky, but also quite creepy in lots of ways. And I'm not sure if that was the effect that the artist intended or not. And so in some ways, I left sort of feeling a bit of disquiet and mixed emotions. And it was strange because I'd never seen Butzer's work en masse in the flesh before. And linked to these synthetic paintings were these very different end paintings, which you can see an example of here, which are obviously a totally different style. And apparently this series of end paintings, of which there are a few in the show, are the first ones he's produced in colour. And he's shown some, I think, in Copenhagen, which were monochrome. And they're obviously a very different sort of abstract style of art. And then there was a third type of art as well, which I kind of quite liked, because Butzer said, I will always be a colorist and nothing else. And you saw that mainly in these final sort of series of works, which you saw there as well. So having not seen Butzer before, I felt I was kind of viewing three different artists. The works that will stick with me are the synthetic paintings of these weird cartoonish heads with bodies, which I kind of, as I say, vibed with to a certain extent, but also thought they were ghastly at the same time. But the works I aesthetically like the most are the real colorist works, although they're probably the least dramatic. With both Butzer and Rouy, if you could please do in the comments explore your feelings. I actually know André Butzer has lots of fans in the art world, and so it'd be lovely if you're a fan of his, if you could comment and kind of explain why you love him so much. And if you think they were a Halloween horror show, then also do comment. I love reading comments, especially on contemporary art, and especially, like, it's funny because out of the two shows with George Rouy, I kind of was settled about what I thought, but with Butzer, I'm not so much. The Rouy show's on till the 21st of December. Butzer's on till the 14th of December. Both are free. Again, I'd like to thank the galleries for allowing me to post this on YouTube. Do get along if you're in Mayfair, and maybe you're going to the Renaissance show at the Royal Academy. These are literally both 5 minutes from the Royal Academy. They're free, and Mayfair is kind of like, I have conflicted feelings about it because it's obviously an incredibly exclusive area where it's, very few people seem to actually live. But at the same time, it's this massive campus of free galleries showing fascinating shows. Thank you ever so much for watching Art Gallery Explorer. Do post in the comments. I always appreciate your support. And if you like this video, do a little thumbs up as well, because it helps the channel. There'll be lots more coming up, including an immersion into the Renaissance with two shows, one at the Royal Academy, one at the King's Gallery, as well as a exploration of work by R.I.P. Frank Auerbach, who very sadly died this week.